Keep calm. 102 pieces of wisdom to find peace, stop overthinking, and carry on with your life. Written by Nick Trenton, narrated by Russell Newton. Most misunderstandings in the world could be avoided if people would simply take the time to ask, what else could this mean? Shannon L. Alder. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, it's all too easy to fall into the trap of quick judgments and assumptions. Misunderstandings abound, and they often stem from a lack of willingness to explore alternative perspectives and intentional pauses. Shannon L. Alder's wise words urge us to pause and ask ourselves, what else could this mean? Most of us are good at asking, what could this mean? But we stumble when we latch on to the first or only answer to the question. By simply asking what else an event could mean, we can unlock a world of possibilities and maintain a balanced perspective even in the face of negative events, and create a healthy space between our experiences and reactions. In that space, we can grow, fix problems, create, or become the better version of ourselves we know we can be. Ask, what else could this mean? When faced with a negative event or an ambiguous situation, our default response is often to latch on to the most convenient or self-serving explanation. And the most convenient explanation, by the way, isn't necessarily one that helps us, accurately reflects the world, or makes us feel good. It's just the one that fits the frame of mind we're already occupying. If your frame of mind is blind panic and terror when someone points a knife at you, you'll probably decide it means they want to kill you. But it's only when you ask, what else could it mean, that you're able to see that they're just offering you a tool to help you cut the carrots for the soup you're both making. Let's consider a more everyday scenario. A close friend cancels plans at the last minute. What does it mean? If you're in a particular mindset, it's proof that nobody loves you. But instead of jumping to conclusions and assuming they no longer value your friendship, we could entertain the possibility that they might be facing unexpected personal challenges, or simply need some time for self-care. They could have an emergency on their hands or be ill, who knows? They could be making soup. In moments of criticism or rejection, it's easy to internalize these experiences as reflections of our worth. Yet, by practicing the habit of considering alternative explanations, we can protect ourselves from blindly believing the worst possible interpretations. Maybe you're a total failure and about to get fired any minute now. Or maybe your boss has a point, and him pointing out that you were late that morning doesn't mean you're a bad human being. By incorporating the question, what else could this mean, into our daily lives, we nurture a habit of seeking multiple perspectives. This habit helps us transcend our initial reactions, fostering a more balanced and empathetic understanding of negative events. In turn, we can approach life with a greater sense of presence and embrace the possibilities that are beyond our immediate interpretations. Slowing down for mindful living. In our fast-paced world, where instant reactions and impulsive decisions often take the forefront, it is crucial to cultivate the skill of slowing down the processing time between experiencing something and reacting to it. Basically, you can't ask, what else does this mean? Or anything else for that matter, if you don't give yourself a few moments to do so before reacting. By extending this space, we create room for mindfulness and intentional living, ultimately allowing us to be more present, less anxious, and less prone to overthinking. Think of a passing comment that triggers a negative emotional response. Instead of immediately lashing out or retreating into a shell of defensiveness, we can choose to slow down. In moments of stress or pressure, our natural inclination is often to react swiftly, driven by our fight or flight instincts. Emotion is lightning quick and automatic. Careful consideration takes a little longer. By intentionally slowing down the processing time, we gain the power to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. For example, imagine receiving an urgent work email that triggers feelings of overwhelm and anxiety. Instead of immediately plunging into a frenzy of frantic multitasking, we can take a few mindful breaths and ask ourselves, what else could this mean? This pause allows us to breathe before making deliberate choices that align with our values and well-being. Slowing down the processing time is particularly crucial in our digital age, where information bombards us incessantly. When encountering news or social media posts that evoke strong emotions, instead of instantly reacting or sharing our immediate thoughts, we can practice a mindful pause. Slowing down the processing time in the face of provocative content helps us avoid unnecessary conflict and be in the present moment. A big surprise when trying out this practice is that some things don't actually mean anything. In other words, a trigger can float by and grab our attention, but that doesn't mean we have to react. And it certainly doesn't mean we have to react in a predestined way. We don't have to accept it or push against it. We can simply choose to detach and place our attention elsewhere. In our personal relationships, the practice of slowing down our processing time is an invaluable tool for reducing misunderstandings. Imagine how many interpersonal arguments you could defuse by simply pausing and choosing not to react. Imagine how many stressful rabbit holes, tangents, and unnecessary trains of thought you could avoid if you merely pause long enough to say, wait, do I even want to go there? A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusions. Alan Watts. Digital buzz and constant chatter, our world is awash with perpetual distractions, a cacophony of beeps and notifications. It's a place where the art of self-reflection often becomes a refuge, a sanctuary to which we retreat, seeking solace amidst the relentless noise. As the renowned philosopher Alan Watts astutely observed, an unbridled fixation on introspection can lead us astray, causing us to lose touch with reality and plunge headlong into a world of illusions. Striking the delicate equilibrium between delving into our inner selves and engaging with the external world is the cornerstone of a life marked by presence, reduced anxiety, and liberation from overthinking. Balancing introspection and external experiences. While introspection holds the key to understanding our motivations, fears, and dreams, an excess of it can pull us out of reality's embrace. Just like a pendulum, swinging too far toward constant self-analysis can lead to a life spent outside the vibrant tapestry of the present moment. We become ensnared in our thoughts, trapped in a maze of our own making. It's a paradox. The more we dwell on our thoughts, the more detached we become from the very experiences that give rise to those thoughts. Imagine a child tells his dad he's afraid of a monster under their bed. The dad, trying his best, sits down and addresses the problem. He makes a compelling, rational argument for why there couldn't logically be a monster. And even if there was, there are a dozen contingency plans for what they'd do to manage it. The dad goes on to explain the boy's deepest, unconscious psychological fears, and how the monster is just an abstract symbol of the unknown. The boy and his dad talk long into the night, for hours, about the philosophical and metaphysical ramification of the monster myth and what it represents both politically and culturally, and how they are going to rewrite that fear narrative, reclaim the word monster, and release blocked psychic and libidinal energy and channel it into the tasks of mastery that reflect the child's developmental crises. The child is still afraid of what's under the bed, though. The next day, his mom impatiently tells the boy to just look under the bed himself. Is there a monster there? I guess not. Thinking helps us solve problems. Overthinking is a problem. Consider a scenario where you've spent hours dissecting a conversation you had with a colleague. You've parsed every word, every nuance, to the point where the actual moment has blurred into a haze of overthinking. Meanwhile, your colleague has moved on, engrossed in new conversations and experiences. The excessive introspection, while well-intentioned, has distanced you from the tangible world, from the laughter echoing in the hallway, the aroma of coffee wafting from the break room, the real connections being forged in the present. Similarly, imagine a traveler who meticulously plans every detail of their journey before even setting foot on the path. They've studied the maps, read reviews, and crafted an intricate itinerary. Yet when they finally embark, the world surprises them with unforeseen vistas, unexpected detours, and the magic of spontaneous encounters. The traveler who lives solely in their plans misses out on the essence of travel itself, the act of surrendering to the unknown, letting go of rigid expectations, and embracing the beauty of unscripted moments. In the pursuit of balance, we must weave introspection into the fabric of our lives without allowing it to unravel the threads of reality. We can cultivate mindfulness by engaging our senses in the present, feeling the earth beneath our feet, savoring the flavors of a meal, and truly listening to the stories of others. This reconnection with the tangible world invites us to be active participants in the narrative of life, rather than mere spectators lost in the labyrinth of our thoughts. Defending against negative self-deception. In our journey toward self-improvement and mindful living, we often tread the delicate line between self-reflection and self-deception. The human mind is a master of constructing narratives, especially ones that serve to shield us from discomfort or accountability. We can easily slip into a state of negative self-deception, a mental terrain where we justify our inaction, rationalize our shortcomings, and create elaborate stories to avoid confronting our own limitations. It's a refuge that feels safe, but ultimately robs us of the chance to confront our fears and grow from them. We may convince ourselves that we're doing something or solving problems, all while we're really doing nothing. Imagine someone striving to launch their own business. They spend months perfecting their product, crafting marketing strategies, and building an online presence. Yet, as launch day approaches, a nagging self-doubt creeps in. Instead of facing this uncertainty head-on, they distract themselves with busy work, convince themselves that the timing isn't right, and meticulously plan every detail to evade the risk of failure. While it may seem like they're being meticulous, they're actually trapped in a web of self-deception. an illusion that shields them from the vulnerability of facing potential setbacks. How do you get real with yourself? Honest conversations with mentors, friends, or peers can offer valuable perspectives that cut through the haze of self-deception. Seeking out constructive criticism and opening ourselves up to vulnerability enables us to see our blind spots and challenge the illusions we create. It's a humbling process that requires embracing discomfort. Sometimes, however, we just need to look under the bed. This has been Keep Calm, 102 Pieces of Wisdom to Find Peace, Stop Overthinking, and Carry On with Your Life. Written by Nick Trenton, narrated by Russell Newton. Copyright 2024 by Nick Trenton. Production copyright by Nick Trenton.